Some new developments in the Hunter Biden story. A former business partner who was engaged with Jim Biden and Hunter Biden, and allegedly with Joe Biden himself, spoke out on a Fox News interview with Tucker Carlson yesterday about his past experiences with the Biden family. Let's take a listen.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised. Obviously, I've referenced that I held a Q clearance. You're briefed on compromise and, who you're able to talk with and deal and do business with. And I just don't see, given the history here and the facts, how Joe can't be influenced in some manner based on the history that they have here with CFC and stuff like that. So as a citizen and an American taxpayer, I'm very, very concerned.
So just for some context, CEFC is the Chinese energy company which they were engaged with. Bobulinski was allegedly brought in by Jim Biden and Hunter Biden in order to be CEO of a company.
Jim being the brother.
Jim is the brother, yes. Biden's brother, Hunter's uncle.
Yes.
Bobulinski was allegedly the CEO of this company called Sino-Hawk Holdings, which was supposed to be that joint operation between this Chinese energy company and Hunter. He said that he met with Joe Biden. He has text messages and others that show he texted Hunter saying, please, thank you for introducing me. And the most interesting thing about this is he said he once spoke to Jim Biden, and he said, how are you guys getting away with this? Aren't you concerned? Jim Biden allegedly laughed and said, plausible deniability. Now, a note of caution on Mr. Bobulinski. He's apparently pissed that the Hunter emails and others showed that they cut him out of some other lucrative deals.
Bad blood there.
That they made a lot of money.
Know.
So look, he's got an axe to grind. I just want to be very clear about who this person is. He has text messages, emails, and others that he shared. He seems quite credible, and
notably,
it's backed up.
Has the Biden campaign denied any of this?
Biden campaign has not denied this, and even most critically, I also want to be clear about this, which is that his corporate records show that not $1 ever flowed into Joe Biden's pocket, officially. However, he says that he had a meeting with Joe Biden, that these meetings and others were structured around the Biden family name. You can pair that up with a story that my friend Chuck Ross broke over at the Daily Caller yesterday, and it was also confirmed over at the New York Times, about a pitch deck and others show that Hunter sought to avoid registering as a foreign agent in a Chinese business venture, and also used Joe Biden's name explicitly in a pitch deck whenever he was talking to future business prospects around Colombia. And I know, it's like, how does Colombia get into this? He's pitching a deal between this Chinese energy company and the state of Colombia, the nation of Colombia, saying explicitly, Joe has a very good relationship with him over his years as vice president, and that is a leverage point that we could use. So there you go. That's the newest developments of all this, more colored in the lines of the corruption that we knew.
Blatantly clear at this point that Hunter Biden and Jim Biden, Joe's brother, trading on the Biden name, trying to leverage Joe's name in these negotiations. We don't know. It looks, from the evidence we have so far, it doesn't look like Joe himself was financially profiting from this. There's some allegations to that regard, but we don't have any proof of that to begin with. So let's just be clear about what this says and what it doesn't say. But was Hunter doing shady crap trading on the Biden name? And is that relevant and something voters should know about and that mainstream news outlets should take seriously?
Yes.
100%. But I also want to say it is a bit rich for right-wingers who I'm sure did not care one bit when he had all kinds of foreign agents running around the Trump campaign.
Exactly right.
Didn't say one word and will never say one word. Or even has Tucker covered this story from the Washington Post about the way that Trump himself, through his businesses, taxpayer dollars, have flowed into his personal bank account. The story they go through here is, I believe it was Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. They decided to have, they could have had a summit at the White House, but they really wanted to have it at the summer White House, Mar-a-Lago, racking up thousands and thousands of dollars in bills that, of course, again, go to Donald Trump's bottom line, taxpayer dollars. This is out and out corruption, and it's grotesque. And we know from what we've gleaned from his tax returns, how much he's benefited from business around the world while he's president of the United States. And when he first came in, he said, I'm going to put it all in a blind trust. Then he walks that back. And Again, do we know for sure that his actions as president are influenced and colored by his business dealings around the world? No, you don't know that. But you have this grotesque appearance of corruption. And in this case, you have direct corruption. This Trump hotel down the street here, how much money have they made from that?
Millions.
Where it's got to be, it's always the place that everybody's got to go. The foreign diplomats all stay there to try to curry favor with Trump. So I don't want to hear about Hunter Biden from any right-winger who doesn't have anything to say about this piece.
No, you're totally right. The funny part, I remember during that Ukrainian president phone call, the thing that actually got me is when he's like, Mr. President, we stay at Trump Hotel. I was just like, oh. I'm like, that is just gross. I mean, it's corruption. That is corruption. It's inexcusable. We should probably pass laws that say that the president absolutely can't get away with this, and I'm basically
100% in support of that.
And that is what the point I want to make. I am very glad that we live in a country where the Washington Post considers this to be an important story. The president of the United States should not be getting paid in any form whatsoever from the government that he leads. It is grift, it is graft, it is corrupt, no question. And the worst part is that it's legal. And that's what I'll say, which is that why is the Caller and Fox having to do all the reporting here?
Right.
It's a legitimate story. This guy, David Fahrenthold, who wrote that story, he's got a Pulitzer Prize writing about Trump graft. I think that's good. I actually think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Trump University, Trump Foundation, all that, skewer them if they were violating laws. I'm totally for it. But they have no curiosity whenever it comes to this. I even saw I tweeted out the story, and Ben Smith in the New York Times, he's like, well, it looks pretty clear here. He's like, trading off his name. Just the resistance. They're like, well, good thing I'm not voting for Hunter. Well, you didn't vote for Jared either, but Jared's sister's trading off his name in China. That bothers me.
Yeah.
And I think
God, I forgot about that story.
New York Times reported on it, and they should.
Yeah.
And that's the part. Same with Hunter. The Hunter story was broken by the New York Times, by Jim Risen in 2015, or maybe 2014, because it's corrupt. And it was a problem for the State Department, for the people at the time. Now we have all this stuff about China. Tony Bobulinski was engaged with this family, and he says, yeah, I think, based on my observations, I think these guys are compromised. And this is like the tip of the iceberg for these guys. Jim Biden, we played here about how that story from Politico about he's been trading off his name on.
Ryan Grimm has the encyclopedic knowledge
dealings of Jim Biden's brother, or Jim Biden, Joe's brother, being like, hey, I'm on the coronavirus task force, and also if you should invest in these startups on coronavirus. This is corrupt as hell.
Going back to the very beginning of Joe's career, remember Jim was trying to taking out mortgages on a club and getting favorable terms. So this is a long time pattern. Again, none of this, we're not saying any of this is technically illegal.
Probably legal.
That doesn't mean that it's good. And by the way, it should be illegal. It very much should be. But that doesn't mean that we're alleging here that this is any of it breaking the law. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean it's not relevant. Doesn't mean the media shouldn't take it seriously in the same way that they take Trump corruption seriously. We're not trying to both sides this or say this is equivalent or they measure up or whatever. But if you're going to be taken seriously as a media outlet and you cover corruption and you care about corruption on one side, you got to care about corruption on the other side. It's pretty simple.
That's exactly it.
All right, we're rising for you after this.